Hi everyone, Farmington Mayor Nate Duckett. Great episode lined up for you today as we're talking about government communications. Transparency is key. How you get your information is important. And all the different areas that we are putting information out there for you to consume, well, it's presented today by two professionals here with San Juan County in the city of Farmington. We're going to talk all about it. Stay tuned. We want you to stay connected to what's happening in your community. Hey everyone, welcome to the Mayor's Table. We have a great episode today with two guests who do a lot of work here in San Juan County in the city of Farmington. We have Gina Intoppa, who is our Integrated Marketing and Communications Manager. Welcome.
Good morning.
Devin, Neeley, who is the county's Public Relations Manager. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Well, I'm proud of you guys for coming on the show. I think communication and marketing, that's a really big topic and something that I have a particular interest in because I love telling the story of Farmington and San Juan County. And for a long time, we really didn't have a good communications department or a marketing department for either of these organizations. And I think both of you have helped ramp that up over the past few years. So I wanted to say thank you and give you an opportunity to come on the show and talk to our viewers, our listeners, about what exactly government communications looks like in 2025, because it's fairly complicated. There were much more simpler years when the information you got from local government came through the mail or was in a newspaper ad or article. Now it's a very widespread and a lot of outreach going out to make sure that we try and get as much information to as many people as possible wherever they may be getting information from. And Gina, that's very difficult.
It is. And you make a good point. People are getting information from many, many different sources in this community. Social media is certainly huge, TV, newspaper, radio. So we are trying to hit all the channels and make sure we can meet people where they're at with the information that they need.
Yeah. Devin, how long have you been in this role for the county as Public Relations Manager?
We're coming up on 7 years that I've been with the county, and I have to say this is a very unique experience for me today because most often Gina and I are in the background. We're supporting the folks who are talking about the county and the city and telling the story, and so being the ones in front of the mic today is a different one for me. But it's exciting to be here and talk about what we do.
Sure. Well, now everybody gets to see your faces.
Oh, no.
No. Right. Gina, how long have you been in your role with the
Just
city?
over 2 years now. So May was 2 years.
Awesome. And we've seen that marketing department grow during that time. So
yeah.
we've got a pretty robust group of individuals now.
We do. We're a small but mighty team. There's 3 of us in our core marketing team. Ivan Morales is our videographer, and Ray Grote is our graphic designer. And like I said, we are a small team, but we do a lot, and it's really great to work with such a great group of collaborators.
Absolutely. Devin, are you a one-man show?
You know, I have help now.
All right.
For almost 2 years, I've had a graphic designer in our office. Tim Meady handles graphic design and a lot of social media work for us, and he's been a fantastic addition to the team.
I think one of the things, obviously, government communications, in my opinion, is one of the. It's a critical thing that we do. We want to be transparent. I put that out there all the time with folks. If you want to know what's going on in the city of Farmington, whether it's on social media or on the internet, or you can look at the city manager's monthly report that details what every department is doing, you can see what's going on with local government if you choose to do so. So transparency is important because it builds trust, right? People, and we want to have that trust as local government, and certainly as a representative of the people. I want to make sure that I'm getting correct information, that's being disseminated correctly to the public, and that we're filling in the gaps where there may not be information or there's questions about it so that we can help answer those questions and move people forward. But also, it helps promote civic engagement, and that's something I'm very passionate about. Service to others is critical. You have to be engaged in what's known and be in the know, be knowledgeable about what's happening in order for you to be able to take that forward and engage in civic activities and civic life.
You know, the beauty about the American system is any information that the government has is available through an information request. Any citizen can ask for that information, can find the raw data, the raw numbers, the information that they want. Most people don't have the time. They may not know exactly what they're looking for. And so we have the very unique opportunity to tell our own story. We're not using necessarily the newspaper. We're not necessarily using the TV or the radio or whatever that may be. We get to tell the stories that make our community shine and highlight all of those really important programs and departments and divisions that may or may not get column inches in the newspaper or time on the radio, time on TV, because of all of the other things going on that may be considered news. Whether or not they're more important, I won't get into that. But it's an honor and really exciting for me to be able to tell those stories for the folks that are doing the work.
Sure.
Yeah, you make a good point there. There's, the city and the county are vast. We do a lot of things. There's a lot of people and departments involved in making it happen. And those folks that are on the ground doing the work, they're not always telling their story. They're busy. They're, making our electric utility run. They're, keeping our streets clean. So we do get to be sort of that conduit between the work that's being done and the community, and make sure that they get to see all of the things that go into running a city and a county.
Both of you run programs and you plan out what, initiatives you're putting out there, whether it's a marketing initiative but you also have the day-to-day duties of dealing with breaking news and urgent issues, and people now are demanding real-time communication. Like if my electricity just went out 5 seconds ago, I need an answer now. When I was a kid and electricity went out, you didn't know what was going on. You just cut out the candles and the flashlights, and you hoped it came on soon.
Yeah.
But now I want an immediate answer on those things, which puts a lot of pressure on local government to respond. Devin, you brought up the information request, IPRA. IPRA's turned into a whole other animal of itself, because there is so much communication going on between email and minutes and meetings and anything taking place within local government. There's so much information that can be put out, body cam footage from police officers. We've had to hire multiple people to help whether it's in PD or in the clerk's office. We've had to hire additional people to staff just IPRA requests. So things have definitely changed. Puts a lot of burden on you guys to perform. How do you deal with that? I mean, that's a very stressful situation to be in.
The mantra that I try to live by is getting the right information to the right people at the right time so they can make the right decisions. Now, at 2 o'clock in the morning, if I'm asleep in bed, I may or may not be getting that information out just immediately. We rely on our friends at the dispatch center and some things like that in a very high acuity situation, in an emergency situation, to handle that on an immediate basis. But my family lives here. I'm from here. When I sit down at the computer to get information out, I think about what I would want my mother, my grandmother, my brother and nephew and niece to know in order to live a safe and happy and healthy life here in the county.
Yeah.
Yeah, in terms of how we get that information out and how we manage, you just have to have your head on a swivel. You kind of have to be prepared for anything. Certainly we have some tools in our tool belt, and we've created some systems and some partnerships like with the county that help us to handle those emergency communications and get that information out quickly. But you're right, people are immediately on social media when those things happen, and when there's no communication coming out of our departments, they're filling that void with their fears and their conspiracy theories, and that information spreads really quickly. So we do need to move pretty fast and get information out to the public, even if the information is, we don't know what's happening right now, but we will get back to you. Just not communicating is probably the biggest misstep we can make. So just making sure that we're available to get whatever information we have out to the public in a timely manner is always our best move.
No, that's very insightful, and it's true. Lack of communication causes more disturbance than over communication, even if we don't exactly know. And I can think of a number of situations that have occurred over the past 4 years where we've been in those positions, and we've learned a lot of important lessons from that, and saying, okay, we have to get something out. We need it. What is it? I don't know, but we've got to tell somebody something. But what we don't know, and we just have to be honest with them. Because Devin pointed this out. I mean, just the audiences and who you're considering, what that messaging looks like, and what you want them to know. It's the general public, it's your family, it's city and county employees, it's employees' families, it could be, if we're dealing with police department, it could be families of suspects or victims that we have to be in consideration of, community groups, and it's trying to stay in that neutral position, especially when you're putting that information out there to say, this is what we know. We're not saying one thing or the other thing, but it's the no spin zone, right? Like, we're just literally just trying to tell you what we know and see where it goes from there, right? Yeah, I don't know. It's been, you just think of the different situations that come up. If there's a shooting that can occur, I hear gunshots. Somebody hears gunshots, they go to social media immediately. I hear gunshots. Does anybody know what's going on? Mm-hmm. Or they use their Ring doorbell network, or they use what's the other one that's
Nextdoor.
Nextdoor, neighbors, Nextdoor. Yeah, all those things.
What just flew over our heads? What was that? It is. So, and how do you deal with those things? Because you see those things come up because there are different pages that people run in the county that has a lot of activity going on it. Do we actively, from county and city, are we actively engaged in those pages also? Or have we got a policy that's like, no, we're sticking with what we can control, and that's what we're going to put out there? Because I know that when you jump into the fire, into some of these conversations, they can spiral and you end up going way far off from where everything was to begin with.
Do you want to take this?
I was going to ask if you wanted to. That's not a yes or no question. Mm-hmm. I'll say that for me and my shop, it's very situation dependent, and it's also dependent on the personality of the page. We both manage 20 or 30 pages, probably you do, but each one of the social media pages that we manage kind of has its own personality.
Yeah.
And so based on that page, are we going to get into the fray and start boxing it out in the comments? No, that's not going to happen.
Right.
If there is rampant misinformation being posted in certain community groups, more often than not, I'll create a post from an official page that deals with that misinformation, and I post it, and that's where it goes. If it gets shared into one of the in a community group, great. If it doesn't, and people take that information, and the community generally self-corrects. Mm-hmm. So if we empower people, and this always sounds cheesy to me, but information is where people derive power. And so much of misinformation is people wanting power, and so they create the information. If they can be empowered with the correct information and it gives them their little dopamine hit from all the likes from them posting it, then so be it. Let's get that right information out there. I have lots of mantras. Another one is...
That's a very good one.
Get it right, get it first. Okay. I don't want to be first if I'm wrong. No. I want to get it right and get it out as soon as I can.
Yeah. As you mentioned, we've had to hire additional staff to handle all these IPA requests. If we were to actually engage with all of the content, all of the misinformation, we would probably need to double our staff because it's out there. And, we have a similar policy. We don't engage with some of these local pages that have, user-created pages. We put all the information on our social channels so that the public knows if it's coming from the City of Farmington page, that information is correct. It's our best, most accurate, up-to-date information. But yeah, no, as Devin mentioned, if there's rampant misinformation, we want to correct it. If it's trolls, we usually ignore it. And anything outside of that, we kind of allow the community to sort of fill in the gaps with hopefully correct information that we've provided.
We've got, and look, I understand there's maybe just a general mistrust in some degrees of A, media, and B, government at times. Mm-hmm. And there's certainly valid reasons why. I can say from my experience here as an elected official in our area, I don't find that mistrust necessarily from our local governments here. I think we really do manage this, and we care a lot about transparency. It is top when you talk to the city manager, Mays, you talk to county manager Stark, these are the most transparent individuals there are. They're not trying to hide anything. So because they are the ones who run the day-to-day operations of the agency, everybody else falls underneath that, and so we're going to be open and honest. Now, you could rely on your elected officials to hold government accountable. That's what our job is to do. And if there's things that come up where we're not transparent and we are hiding things, then by all means, we need to be looking into that and doing research. But I've not seen that. And certainly communication that goes out from our agencies, when I'm reviewing it, I'm not finding anything in there that's mistrust. So let me give you an example.
Okay.
We just did this beautiful ribbon cutting at this wonderful river wave, which is going to put a flag on Farmington that's going to bring people from all over the country. It's a $3 million project. I'm just going to say that because there's information that was put out there that stirred up all this nonsense that it was some $24 million. Nobody's going to spend $24 million putting a wave in a river. If you're doing that, you're crazy. Okay, I can build a whole new aquatic center with a nice warm, rehab pool and for $24 million. We're not going to do that in the river. $3 million project, $2 million of it came from the Office of Natural Resources and Trust out of the Gold King mine spill money. $500,000 came from a grant from the state for a Trails Plus program, and then $500,000 of local money went to build this thing. So somebody goes out there and they put out wrong information, and all of a sudden that stirs up this whole other conversation about how government's waste and fraud spending going on with the city of Farmington, and none of the information that started the whole fire was true. So we get defenders who know what's going on because they're actively engaged with local government, they're actively engaged in civic opportunities, and so they know the truth, and then they're out there trying to defend us. So in those situations, the questions come to me, well, how come the city's not on there trying to defend the truth? Well, again, we're trying to pick and choose what exactly. We've put that information out in so many different areas. And I think we've talked about it on this show even. I think I've talked about it on my radio show. I mean, I don't know where else we put it in the paper, we put it on social media. Anyways, I digress.
There's a point that the onus has to be on the citizens. We do everything we can across dozens of platforms and channels to get the information out there. There is a point that citizens have to take responsibility to maybe take a few seconds of their time and seek the information.
Sure.
They say, do not seek the treasure, right? I think that's a quote from a movie. But you have to seek the information that you're looking for. And if it inconveniences you by 3 or 4 seconds, I'm really terribly sorry about that. But at the point that the government has created the method for you to get the information, there has to be personal responsibility at some point.
I agree. We get it all the time. Well, I didn't know about that, or how am I supposed to find out information on that? I mean, I've had counselors say, where do I go for information like that? And you're part of that. It's all out there. Mm-hmm. You got to find what works for you, but most people don't want to do it. I mean, that's just facts. And if it doesn't impact my daily life, then I'm probably not going to engage in it, and it's not going to be something but then I'm going to see somebody post something that does make me upset, because that does affirm the fact that I do believe that government is wastefully spending my money, and so therefore now I'm going to carry that forward. And I tell folks all the time, and we'll get off of social media here in a second, but I'll get people come up like, are you okay? I'm like, what do you mean? Well, all the stuff that's going on social media. Well, I've made a choice not to live my life there. I've made a choice to live right here, right now with you guys, and if there's issues, I know people are going to bring them to me. They know where I'm at every Tuesday, right? I have public meetings every Tuesday. They know how to get a hold of me at City Hall. I mean, that information's out there. So if there's really an issue, you have a city councilor, you've got staff, you've got the mayor's office, you've got many places you can go where if you're legitimately concerned about an issue, go there. Seek the truth from the people who are held accountable to provide you the truth. Don't just go out there and make it up. Mm-hmm. That's my opinion. And I've told this to folks the other day. If you're on social media, there's so many wonderful things happening in this community. And part of my drive over the past 10 years in trying to create a marketing team at the city was because we need to be telling our story. Mm-hmm. Because we don't need the rumors. Let's dispel the rumors. There's no Costco coming. How can we say that how many times? I mean, and now we have Mr. Know-It-All, who's now answering those questions for people as well, which is interesting. But it's important. The government's out in front, and they're telling folks, because it's public money that's funding everything that we're doing. And it's public money, it's your ratepayers that are paying for the electricity and the water. And by gosh, if I turn on my faucet and the water's not working, that's a problem. And if there was a project going on by the city of Farmington and they didn't notify neighbors that they were going to be turning off the water, that is also a problem. If we didn't put it out on social media, that's also a problem. So all those things need to be streamlined and communicated so people are in the know. And I'm really proud of how we've grown over the past 10 years in both these agencies. And I think it's brought this community together tighter, and it's given people a knowledge base they didn't have before.
Well, thank you. And I will say, for me, there's been a learning curve coming here. I'm not from this community, coming from the outside. So I'm learning about Farmington as, I'm marketing Farmington and communicating all the things that are happening here. But just really, for me, too, learning where are people getting information and making sure. We had Mike Lewis at Mac and Cheese Fest a few weeks ago with the
airport manager. Yep.
And I was shocked at how many people came up to him and were just learning about the jet service for the first time that day. We have billboards and commercials. We have radio. I mean, we've blasted this information out, but there are still people that are not seeing it. So that is a problem for our
Fly
agency.
Farmington. United Express,
Exactly.
50-seat jets with bathrooms. Fly Farmington.
Daily flights. So yeah, we do, I agree. The onus does fall on the public. The information is out there, but I agree. I think we also we're looking at new ways. Are there other platforms we can be using? Are people getting information from other channels that we're not tapping into? So we are always looking at how can we be better about telling that story, because the media landscape is changing. It's changing very rapidly, and people are always kind of looking to different sources to get that information. So we're trying to move at the speed of change with everyone else, and it's a challenge, but we're
My
working on
favorite
it.
question is, if you didn't hear about it, how would you like to have heard about it?
It's a good one.
And so often people don't even have an answer. And there's two parts of that. First and foremost, it's very, very easy to become information overloaded.
Oh, it's so, yeah.
With it at your fingertips at every second of every day, you can become overloaded in a matter of seconds.
Yeah.
The other side of that is there is sometimes a willful, you just can't deal with it, turn it off.
Yeah.
And social media is for entertainment, and I don't want the news, good, bad, or other. I don't watch TV unless it's, I don't know, WWE, whatever. If that's what you're into, great. And you're there for the entertainment, 100%. And so we do have those factions as well that are difficult to, then how do we reach you? I can't send someone to your front door and knock on the door. You wouldn't answer the door anyway.
Well, I've used that. I've actually used that when people have brought up in meetings, like, well, how am I supposed to know about that? And then, somebody will say, well, could we not just? I'm like, we can't send people door to door.
Yeah.
We don't have the resources to send people door to door. There's a huge expense in that.
Yeah.
We got to be realistic about it. To your point earlier, there's an onus on the individual. If you want to know, you can know.
So it's a challenge.
Yeah.
It's a challenge to balance all of those things together. And I think our approach, and I think it's pretty similar to you guys, is really put the information in the places that we have found to be most beneficial and the most cost effective, which is also a conversation about government communication. Empower the people. And then if they just don't want to know, at least empower them with the ways that they can find out when and if they choose to.
So I'm going to use this. I'll just break this down. We've got a list here of all the channels that we currently use. Okay. So if I miss something, tell me. We've talked social media, but social media is Facebook and Instagram. Do we do any X?
We don't. We do Nextdoor, but no X.
Okay. No. Do you do X?
We have accounts, but we haven't found it to be.
And X is
fruitful.
formerly Twitter, in case.
Yeah.
Yeah. Nextdoor. We obviously have our websites, which we're always trying to streamline and make better and make easier for people to get through.
We're
and
updating our site, so stay tuned. Yep.
Email newsletters. So this is a good one because people can sign up to get you can get emailed every minute of every meeting that was ever made, every agenda that goes out for every public meeting. You get our email newsletter that you put out and you also put out, which is filled with information and links to additional information. And to do that, they needed to do what? If we gave somebody instructions right now, maybe Greg can throw something up on the screen, but how do you sign up for email newsletters?
For the city of Farmington, you'll visit our website, farmingtonnm.gov, and then in the upper right-hand corner, I think it's Get Involved, and there's a button for Notify Me. You can sign up for a number of alerts depending on what you're interested in, what information you're interested in.
Similar?
Very similar. sjcounty.net in the upper right, it's I Want To, and you click on Sign Up for Newsletters. And you have a lot of different choices. Burn recommendations, the County Connections newsletter. I mean, it's once a month. We're not spamming you, and you can unsubscribe at any time.
Right.
So.
Okay. Blogs. We have a blog.
We do. We do have a blog. It's twice a month.
County have a blog?
I don't have a blog.
Oh, we got blogs, baby.
Yeah.
We got good blog writers, too.
We'd need some more staff to get a blog.
Yeah. So we do the blogs, and the blogs are kind of focused on what?
It's a variety of topics, just, general things that the public would be interested in, educating them on our systems, on the different departments we have. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah. YouTube, obviously, this show's on YouTube, but we both have YouTube channels for our agencies. Podcast platform, we do this. Do we have any podcasts for the county?
I'd need more staff.
Yeah.
I'd need contract staff.
I need to just bring on your chairman, chairperson,
Yeah.
chairwoman. Bring them on, talk about things at the county.
Absolutely.
Traditional media, obviously newspapers, radio, TV. We do that.
Yep.
We also have the Farmington Living Magazine, where I have an article or a little blog essentially every month in there. Public meetings and forums. You can show up in person. All sorts of public meetings going on all the time. Flyers, posters, in city and county facilities. I love what we've done with our Parks and Recreation Division and all the different little flyers that we create for that. I mean, they're awesome. They're colorful. They're fun, and I just take pictures of them and post them. By the way, I post stuff. I typically don't respond either. But I want people to see, this is what I want you to see, and I'm not going to delve into it. I'm just wanted you to see it. Emergency communication platforms like iPause. What is iPause?
Okay, so this is where things get a little hairy.
Okay.
iPause is essentially the Amber Alert tone that comes over your phone. You can turn those off.
Right.
But that comes from the dispatch center. There's checks and balances to whether or not those are set off. They're intended to be geographically targeted based on which cell phone tower your phone is hitting. There's some minutia to whether or not that works correctly because of the technology in the cell towers that are here, but we're talking a very high-level emergency before the iPause system is activated. So the step below that is the Everbridge system, and it's similar to reverse 911. It's a trade name, so it's like Kleenex and facial tissue, that sort of thing. The equivalent is Everbridge, and the San Juan County Communications Authority has Everbridge access. And if you have a landline, do you have a landline? Do you have a landline? No, exactly. If you have a landline, it will hit you automatically. The Everbridge system, otherwise, you have to sign up for, and you can do so on the Communications Authority website. And Greg can link that in the description. Put it on the screen. You sign up with locations, and you choose how you want to be notified, whether it's a phone call, an email, a text message, or all three. You can add a couple of different phone numbers, and again, it's geographically based. So if you add a work location and a home location, and we draw a circle that includes one of those locations, you're going to get a notification on your phone in the method you desire. That is a very important thing to sign up for because, again, iPause is an extremely high-level activation. iPause can also hit TV with the EAS system, the Emergency Alert System. But Everbridge is for more of a local, evacuation or shelter in place of a longer duration event. If we anticipate an event is only going to last 10 or 15 minutes, we may not activate that system. Again, this is all very case by case, whether or not those systems are going to be activated.
So iPause in a situation like a tornado would be something. If it was torrential rainstorm and flooding, would that?
So a tornado IPAWS alert would come from the National Weather Service.
Okay.
And they're going to actually be the ones to initiate that alert.
Got it. Active shooter?
Active shooter, we would not necessarily put out an IPAWS because I think statistically the duration of an active shooter event is so short, we may not even get the message out before the event is over. Let's see. I can't even think of an IPAWS activation. No, I take that back. We had a hazmat situation that we were concerned about the chemical plume spreading in the wind. We didn't have 100% confirmation of what that hazmat spill was. And so out of an abundance of caution, we activated that IPAWS system for a very specific geographic area, advising people to essentially shelter in place, close the windows, close the doors, turn off the swamp coolers, and stay put for the time being. Don't go outdoors. Fortunately, we were able to pull that back within the hour. We sent a cancellation of such. There's still some issues that sometimes you get the alert and don't get the cancellation, or vice versa. So there's a little bit of frustration with that. But the Everbridge system is a lot more apt to be correct. So we encourage people to sign up for Everbridge.
Okay. That's
covered
mostly,
it.
that's so the office of, the county's Office of Emergency Management also plays a role in those communicating efforts, because we've seen those situations arise as well. And then, so again, all those channels that we just mentioned, social media, next door neighbor, websites, email, newsletters, blogs, YouTube, podcast platform, traditional media, public meetings and forums, flyers, posters, city, county facilities, emergency communication platforms.
Can I add to that?
Yeah.
Billboards.
Billboards.
We have billboards. I have 3 digital billboards around the county. I have 2 digital billboards on trailers that we deploy occasionally. Those are an important part of our arsenal.
Sure.
At the county.
Well, we also have our roadside signs that we utilize for those situations, for different things. Typically, those have to be used for traffic situations.
Yeah. Also, all of our, not all, most of our city facilities have televisions that display our different ads for programs and events and things like that coming up. So if you stop in the senior center or city hall, you can see what's going on just by looking up at the TV.
Right. So I don't know how else we could do it. I mean, I don't know where else we can go. I mean, there is, if you want it, you can get it. It's out there. We're investing a lot of money and staff and time to make that possible for folks, just like you said. You bring a horse to water, you can't make them drink. So the water's here. It's abundant and it's ready for you. Please use it. We want you to view it. We want you to consume it. But to your point, I think information overload, it can happen instantaneously. We should have had the school's PR person here today to talk to us too, because I can tell you between the text message, emails, and phone calls that I get for every single school thing, which I need to find a way to turn off some of these things. But you're to the point where I'm not answering the phone anymore, and I'm not going to read the email. So yeah, you reach that point. So then you're like, well, did I know about that? Well, we sent you the email about it. Yeah.
I will say. No, go ahead.
Please.
Well, one of the things that we're working on is revamping our website, because one of the things we identified pretty quickly was that all of the information is there, but it's a little bit difficult to navigate. And we find that people are using the search function on our site rather than actually organically going in and finding the information that they're looking for. So we are in the midst of a whole website remapping project. So we've been working with a few different providers to help us reconfigure that site. Basically, they're dismantling the house and taking all of the same parts and rebuilding it in a way that's going to be easier for people to use. So we're very hopeful that once all of that is in place, that our website will be a better tool that we can use to get information out. And people will know that they can go and find that information quickly on our site. So
sure,
we are like I said, we're making strides, but we're hitting all the channels. And
well, websites are just, I don't know, they're a different animal. You're constantly trying to find ways to make it easier, make it better, and because I'll go in and I'll use it for stuff like show me San Juan County's budget from 2025, and then it takes me down this place and I'm at this place and I'm like, well, I can see 24, but where's 25? Why isn't 25 here? So you want to find a way to, and then you'll find 25 and it maybe just be worded slightly different or something, and it's like, oh, Okay. But here's one of my favorite subjects I'm talking with everybody about, AI.
Okay.
AI is an important thing, and I got to think within the work that you all do, it's going to be a big tool. Why are you looking at me like that, Devin?
I'm not.
Yeah.
I don't have any idea what you're talking about.
Because, I mean, I know in communicating, man, there's so many good tools that AI provides. Because just writing content is a lot of what you all do. And it takes a lot of that burden out. I can tell you, like I'm almost done searching websites. I'm just using ChatGPT to give me the answer. Like I will tell it, go to the website and pull out the information I need. And it's pretty amazing how quickly it can do it. And obviously it's not always fully correct or it's not full information, but it's getting better. And it's going to streamline, I think, a lot of what we're doing, and certainly in the realm that you all are working in.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thoughts? If you don't want to get into AI, that's fine.
No, I think it's. I think it is still probably in its infancy, is what I would say about that. There is so much development still being done in the realm of AI, and
Sure.
it certainly has its place in graphic design. I think our graphic designers using a certain amount of AI to build his designs more robust and quicker. As a writer and with hyper-local content, I find that 9 times out of 10, by the time I feed AI all the information it needs to create a post and use the voice that I want it to use and the proper stats, and all, I may as well have written the thing myself. So there is a fair amount of judging whether or not it's even worth the time to get it to the point that it is something that's hyper-local. Now, if I'm writing something about monsoon season or the upcoming monsoons and monsoon safety, that topic is beaten to death online, and I can say, write it, and it comes back, and it's immaculate.
Right.
So I'd say it's 50-50. I use it more often than not as a writer's block breaker. Mm-hmm. If
Sure.
I
Give me
get
some ideas.
a good starting point and I can knock it out from there, I do it that direction. But like I said, with hyper-local content, I find it is somewhat challenging to really make it useful.
Interesting. I could get that.
I use it a lot for local content. What I've used it for recently, we get a lot of alerts about road closures, water shutoffs, things like that. And we have holidays and things like that. With the 4th of July holiday, we had a lot of road closures with the events happening, and so I think all that information came in 3 or 4 different emails, and so I dumped it all into ChatGPT, and it distilled it down into something that was a little bit more digestible for the community. And of course, you have to go in and fact check and review. I will say a caution with AI, especially with our jobs, is that it is learning as we're feeding it information. So
Sure.
when you feed information to ChatGPT, it retains that information. And when we're dealing with, proprietary information or private information, or maybe we're just crafting an email about our local officials, we have to be very careful about what kind of information we're feeding that AI and make sure that we're not putting anything in there that we don't want it to spit out and give someone else. So that's always a concern.
And that brings up a concern, proprietary information, and but the closed net AI systems that we can implement that are not web-based, but something that we, as an organization, you can do it. And I'm seeing, businesses are implementing those within there. And when it comes to IPRA requests, if we implement something in the city of Farmington, an AI system that will help address IPRA, and it will, find me this information, click, and then it's here. Those things can help streamline
Absolutely.
what government's doing as well. But yeah, good perspectives on that. I'm always interested to talk with folks in different industries about what their thoughts are on AI, because I'm using it every day, multiple times a day.
Say we've been using it for research. I actually found a much cheaper print option for our playbills for Sandstone this summer.
About that.
So
big win, yeah.
Yeah, so it's a great tool if you know how to use it. But again, it's new. It's still in its early phases. So
I was going to say, I'm going to just take notes. You seem to have some good ideas on AI that I hadn't thought of.
I can teach you a couple of things.
I like it.
All right. Just kind of looking through some of these things, getting into some ideas. Crisis communication. Okay, we kind of hit on that. Is there other thoughts on crisis communication and some of that? We've got a public relations individual for Farmington PD, And does Shanice do fire too?
No, we help with fire.
Okay. Do you do all that for all of them?
No. So I have a counterpart at the sheriff's office.
Okay.
But I handle the Office of Emergency Management and San Juan County Fire and Rescue in emergent situations. In fact, just a few weeks ago, we were out with Farmington Fire on a fire on the old Aztec Highway. And I got to tell you, there's so much collaboration. You mentioned it earlier.
I'm glad you brought that up.
Gina is a speed dial in my phone, and we're on the phone. I don't know about constantly, but we're on the phone together quite a bit because so much of what we do is overlapping between jurisdictions, and nobody really cares what jurisdiction is. They just want their issue handled. And I'm very fortunate that we have such a collaborative relationship between many agencies, the hospital, the schools, the cities, the town, all those sorts of things. And I will also mention that there is a collaborative group of public information officers who gather on a quarterly basis and discuss these issues and tips and tricks. And I think Gina's going to present on AI at our next quarterly meeting.
Congratulations.
Sounds like a great idea.
All right, let's do it.
Because we're all facing the same challenges. We're all facing the same sorts of things. So if we can learn from one another, we make this community a stronger place, just in general. So I think that's an important part about our community and the group, a small group of
Absolutely.
public information professionals who do this and do it in service of the community.
Yeah. If somebody was interested in getting into what you all do,
Don't.
It sounds like you need some additional staff, maybe.
I said recently.
it's a good thing there's collaboration going on
Yeah.
here to support one another.
I said recently, you can't hurt my feelings. I manage government social media.
Yeah.
This truly is a job that is in service to the community. As I mentioned earlier, we're very rarely the ones in the spotlight, and that's just fine. We're there to support the people who need to tell the story. We're there to tell the story for the people who that isn't their focus. It is a very rewarding job. Different people come at it from different aspects. Certain graphic design folks do good graphic design stuff. Video folks do good video stuff in support of the mission. Writing folks do the writing stuff. And I really, it is an all hours kind of job. It is a stressful job, but at the end of the day, you can point to the value that you've added to your community, to your home, and be proud of what you do.
So if somebody wants to get into that, what should they do, Gina?
Communications, that's, I think, that's really what it boils down to. What we do is communications.
So if you're going to go to college and do it, communications
strengthen
would be a good
your
area to go,
writing,
and
strengthen your public speaking.
English majors.
Yeah.
Hannah?
Broadcast
Talking to you.
majors. Oh,
My degree's in journalism.
Okay.
At New Mexico State, you can emphasize in different areas. Public relations is one of the tracks that I didn't take, but I did take some of those classes. And then there's a lot of training online. I hold a couple of different certifications through FEMA and some different classes that you can get online that gives you a taste of it. Some of them are in person, some of them are individual learning. And those are really public information officer for emergent situation training specific, but it gives you a good overview and general idea of how to handle everything else too.
Yeah. Well, I like the way you phrase it as a public service, because people demand it. The public wants it. So that's what we're trying to fill. We're trying to fill that gap for them and ensure that they've got it when they need it. So, kudos to you and your teams for what you do.
Thank you.
I'm very appreciative of that because you do have to have thick skin. We have a former public relations manager for the city of Farmington, and I do recall it's a very stressful place to be at times. And as much information, as many things as actually we're doing as community right now, which is why it's so heavily important that we have you guys doing this job. It can come with a lot of additional luggage, and it stays with you. So yeah, if you don't have thick skin and have the ability to move on and just what's the next thing we got to do, what's the next thing we need to be putting out there, like I said, I try and stay off there as much as I can because I lived through COVID, and COVID left me pretty turned turned down by social media and people's attitudes in general. So
understandable. Well, this is our community too, and the communication is important to me. It's important to my family to know what's going on. And I get frustrated when I'm driving to work and there's a road closure that I didn't know about, and I'm like, who closed this road without
I'm
telling
glad we
me?
all share this.
So, it's important to everyone that lives here, and so we take that very seriously, and we want to do right by our community.
Road closures are a really good topic. We probably should have brought this up sooner, but roads are the number one thing that's talked about in our city, period. I mean,
it's a hot topic, yep.
It's constant, and I understand it, and it's frustrating for everybody. I just try and reiterate the fact that, and I've done a lot of traveling this summer and gone to a lot of different cities, and I'm so thankful for where I live and how quickly I can move from one side of town to the other, even if there is an impediment in traffic. I mean, traffic flows.
Mm-hmm.
You just, but you got to know ahead of time. I've told folks, I learned this from Commissioner Fortner, you put a little sticky note on your dash that says, don't drive down 30th.
Oh, boy.
And then you remember, don't go down 30th. And I got to think for the people who live on 30th, it might be nice not to have so much traffic on 30th, because that's it can be a busy area, and it's right there in the middle of neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, that road is close to being paved. When this airs, we're getting very close,
Very close.
to having that completely open again, and then you can take that sticky note off your car.
Inconvenience is the price of progress. And if we are improving our infrastructure, water specifically
That's right.
in that case,
Yes.
we have a couple of bridge projects, and we continue seemingly to have bridge projects at the county. I can think of 4 in the last
Sure.
5 years. At the price of progress, we're going to inconvenience you. And guess what? For the next 10, 15, 20 years, you're going to have a great, well-maintained and safe traverse to work, to home, to wherever you need to go.
Well, we're constantly challenging the process on things, and I again, I'm empathetic to those concerns. I understand them, but the big picture, we have to look at the big picture. Sometimes you get stuck looking at, the trees from the forest. Look at the forest and what's going to be coming. In that 30th Street project, it's an 18-inch water line. That's a big project. That's an important project. And every time you put in new water line, old water line breaks as you put in new water line. So it's a part of the process of getting through that area, but communicating it to folks and making sure that they remember it. You can communicate it. We need them to remember it. Sticky notes, old-fashioned way of keeping that in mind.
That's what we need. We need branded sticky notes that we can hand out.
There you go.
I like that. I'm going to get on that.
Well, we had some communication here a little bit about marketing, and I do just want to recognize the marketing team. I'm wearing our Fly Farmington
Yay.
shirts and really trying to promote this local opportunity for individuals to get to their destinations all across the world from the city of Farmington. It's a big deal. I know you're working on a number of other events when it comes to ribbon cuttings or different things. Obviously, we're going to have the new Market Pavilion is going to be a awesome event to open that up. Boundless Journey Adventure Park, the All Abilities Park, another big opportunity, and your team's working that. We also have the 125th birthday of the city of Farmington next year.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for what we're going to be doing then. But all that, all those things are tailored to try and bring a community together and celebrate the work that's happening, utilizing public dollars, and saying this is for you, and this is for growth, and this is for, we're building the city of the future now. And by the way, I think we're doing a really good job of it, and the amount of accolades that are coming from different agencies. Main Street's now accredited as a national Main Street. That brings opportunities there for continued development in that area. Every person that I speak to who's visiting here or wants to move back, they're just blown away by the progress that's happening here in our communities, and those things just speak to what the vision is. I think that is shared by so many folks who want to see Farmington and San Juan County grow and thrive, and you all are a big part of telling that story, and thank you so much for what you do.
It certainly makes our job fun. It's one of the things I enjoy most about working for the city is getting to be involved with those ribbon cuttings and groundbreakings and getting to celebrate and see all of the amazing things that are happening in our community, because there is lots, and there's lots to celebrate, so it's really fun.
Yeah.
It's a fun time.
Ditto.
That's the least you've ever said.
I know.
Well, I don't have anything else necessarily on here. Anything we want to make sure the public knows or understands that we didn't touch on?
You want to plug anything?
I was just going to say, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, Nextdoor, Neighbors, you name it. We do our best, and if you've got that silver bullet that helps us reach everybody, let me know.
Flying bulletins off the back of airplanes.
Oh, carrier pigeons, maybe.
Ooh,
Can we get a blimp? Let's get a blimp.
Just flies around with the digital message
Yeah.
all day long.
Love it.
I wonder what that would cost.
You can pool our resources.
Yeah,
maybe.
okay.
We'll have to talk to your insurance companies about insuring something like that. Devin, Gina, thanks for being with me today. I think this is a great episode, and just want to encourage our community out there. So many different areas, an opportunity for you to get information and be plugged in. And information overload is real. But if you want to know what's happening, social media, Nextdoor, websites, email, newsletters. I'm going to repeat all these: blogs, YouTube, podcasts, newspaper, radio, TV, public meetings and forums, flyers, posters. And if you have concerns, you can call a city councilor, you can call a county commissioner. You can speak with staff. I've not found where we've not had a situation where, obviously there's times that somebody can't answer a phone, but typically somebody's available that will help somebody who has a need, or get them answers to something. This is part of what government does. So take advantage of those and stay in tuned with what's happening. And if you see something that looks odd on social media, it probably is. And if you need answers to that, call your county commissioner, your city councilor, and we'll get you the answers that you need. But in the meantime, thank you all for being proactive and working hard to get information out to folks as fast as you possibly can and deliver it in methods that hopefully reach the masses. So thanks again.
Thank you.
We appreciate your viewership here. We're hoping you're having a great summer here in our community. We'll see you here next time on the Mayor's Table.